$250,000 disappeared mid-season, and the cameras didn't even blink. Think about it. $250,000 right there on paper, gone while the cast was filming, while viewers were glued to every shout, every argument, every tense stare. Where did it go? And more importantly, why did nobody see the real story unfold on screen? Fans thought they were watching a chaotic family feud, Andre clashing with his in-laws, Elizabeth caught in the middle, tears on her cheeks, baby in her arms. But behind all that, something else was brewing, something bigger than birthday brawls or backyard arguments, something that could ruin more than just a storyline. This is Jessica with Reality Spots. If you love uncovering what the cameras aren't showing, hit subscribe and drop a comment telling me the craziest TV moment you ever suspected wasn't real. Because trust me, what you think you know about Andre and Elizabeth is only half the story. The tension started quietly, under the radar. Andre, the gruff, proud husband from Moldova, was on edge. Not because he disliked the family, not entirely. He was allegedly juggling fears most viewers never considered. Immigration paperwork, visa renewals, income verification. Things that could have sent him packing if they went wrong. And in the middle of all that, the cameras kept rolling, catching every sharp word and slam door. Meanwhile, Elizabeth looked calm, smiling for the show, doing her best to keep the family and the cameras happy. But insiders say those smiles were sometimes masked for pure anxiety. Every fight Andre picked with the family, every snap at Charlie or Elizabeth's siblings wasn't always ego. Sometimes it was fear, stress, or sheer survival instinct. And then there's the money, the $250,000 that vanished like it was never there. Transactions moving between family-linked businesses flagged internally, whispered about off-camera. Never mentioned on-air. Fans were left watching a feud thinking it was all personal drama, when in reality, the tension was tangled with finances, legal risk, and possible immigration consequences. Every argument had layers most people couldn't see. Imagine sitting in Elizabeth's shoes. You're filming a show millions watch. Your husband's legal status could be questioned any day, and on top of that, money is disappearing right under your nose. What do? Smile, nod, act like everything is fine, or scream? She tried both. The fights fans saw on TV, the shouting, the eye rolls, the family explosions, were the tip of the iceberg. The real reason behind them was buried under legal fears, financial alarms, and network rules. Some scenes were allegedly deleted. Some conflicts were reframed. What aired was tension, sure, but sanitized, safe, marketable. And here's the kicker. What you saw wasn't the full story. Not even close. What really caused those fights? Why did cameras capture some moments but erase others? And could the missing $250,000 be the key to understanding the chaos we all witnessed? The answer isn't simple, but what we do know is that season 9 was anything but ordinary. Andre and Elizabeth were caught in a storm, the cameras were rolling, and the network had a very specific version of reality it wanted the world to see. But the truth has a way of slipping through the cracks, and what's coming next is the part that producers didn't want you to know. Fans think they saw Andre losing his temper and Elizabeth holding it together, but what you watched was allegedly a carefully choreographed illusion. Producers didn't just film a family argument, they managed it, shaped it, and edited it into something digestible. Every raised voice, every slammed door, every tear you saw was filtered through a lens of rating strategy. Behind the cameras, insiders claimed there were rules. Certain topics were off limits. Legal problems, immigration fears, money disputes, all quieted, minimized, or erased. Fights that started over paperwork, missing funds, or visa stress were allegedly reframed to look like family squabbles. Aggression became personality, worry became drama, and vulnerability got cut. Elizabeth's role wasn't just wife in conflict. She was the safety valve, the peacemaker, the emotional proof the show still had order. And the pressure she faced? Imagine being told every time you react honestly, it's a scene that might ruin the story. Reportedly, producers reminded her to smile through fear, to nod through panic, to keep the camera-friendly version alive. The tears and whispered fears she allegedly tried to share were replaced with B-roll of toys, sunsets, and mundane moments. Behavior was weaponized for optics, identity was boxed in. And Andre? The so-called angry husband? That was partially a mask. Overcompensation, insiders say, turned fear into fire. Each shout, each argument, each dramatic glance at the camera wasn't always bravado. It was survival. Fear made him loud, defiant, untouchable on screen while his real concerns were muted and censored. Confessionals weren't immune either. Lines about lawyers, money, or immigration were rewritten or deleted. Emotional meltdowns were sometimes cut to keep the story safe. The raw human reactions that actually mattered, stress, panic, doubt, vanished. What remained was heightened tension, marketable drama, and viewers' intrigue. Witty observers will notice the pattern. Behavior shaped by circumstance isn't identity. Andre wasn't just an alpha male foreigner. Elizabeth wasn't only the calm, supportive wife. Their actions were reactions to pressure most audiences could never see. And yet, on screen, we judge them like they were performing for themselves, not under unseen rules and restrictions. So when you look back at season 9 fights, at every eyebrow raise, every slammed door, every tense dinner, you have to ask, what else are we not seeing? How many arguments were reshaped? How many fears silenced? How much of reality is filtered before it reaches our screens? And if this much was allegedly controlled for ratings, what else is buried just out of sight waiting for someone to notice? Andre looked unshakable on camera, shouting, arguing, pushing back against Elizabeth's family, but insiders suggest the fire wasn't only ego. Behind the scenes, he was allegedly under intense immigration scrutiny, visa renewals, legal documents, conflicting income reports, all quietly hanging over him while cameras rolled. Imagine filming your life while one misstep could send you packing. Fear doesn't always show up as trembling or withdrawal. Often it erupts as overcompensation, defensiveness, or aggression. That's exactly what viewers saw. Every sharp word, every dramatic glare, every "I don't back down" moment may have been a mask for anxiety, uncertainty, and survival instinct. Behavior can be a signal, not a diagnosis. Andre's angry foreigner persona, possibly a shield against losing more than pride, potentially his life in the U.S. Elizabeth, meanwhile, carried a quiet storm. She allegedly had to navigate her husband's fear, the family's judgment, and a network's strict narrative control. On screen, she was calm, composed, the peacemaker. Off screen, she might have been trying to hold a life together that could unravel if the wrong word slipped. Every tear, every blink, every pause was reportedly under unspoken rules. Don't reveal too much. Don't spoil the story. Don't hint at the stakes. This invisible pressure shaped every scene fans remember. Dinner table blow-ups, tense confrontations, shouted accusations. They weren't just family drama. They were behavior molded by circumstance, fear, and pressure. The louder Andre got, the more viewers judged. But the louder he got, insiders say, the more he was reacting to survival, not vanity. And here's the twist. How close did this come to crossing a line? Could a misstep on camera, an unguarded confessional, or an uncontrolled argument have jeopardized his stay in the U.S.? Every heated moment wasn't just entertainment. Allegedly, it was a risk, a delicate balance between showing fire on screen and keeping one foot in the country. If the network's editing could hide financial chaos, could it also shield him from legal exposure? Or were fans unknowingly watching moments that teetered on real-world consequences? Mid-season, a jaw-dropping number surfaced. $250,000 allegedly moving through family-linked businesses while cameras were rolling. Fans saw chaos at the dinner table, shouting matches, slammed doors, but what they didn't see were the transactions behind the scenes. Public records and on-screen hints suggest money was shifting between companies connected to Andre and his brother-in-law, Charlie. The timing? Aligned perfectly with Andre's visa renewal, these weren't small transfers. Tens of thousands of dollars reportedly moved over weeks, labeled in ways that raised eyebrows. Uncategorized withdrawals, unverified project expenses. For an outsider, it might look like routine business. For insiders, it was a ticking time bomb. Combine high-stakes financial moves with immigration scrutiny and a camera crew capturing every reaction, and the pressure cooker explodes. Scenes that fans thought were petty family arguments allegedly had roots in this financial tension. Charlie bringing up paperwork and invoices, Andre defending numbers, Elizabeth caught in the middle. It wasn't just family drama. According to leaks, some of these confrontations were deleted, rewritten, or reframed to remove sensitive financial references. On camera, it became a personality clash. Off camera, it was a web of money, legal responsibility, and fear. Every dollar moved had stakes. One misstep, one hint of dispute shown on TV, could expose gaps in Andre's documentation or draw attention to questionable transfers. Every argument, every glare, every tear had layers fans could not see. The combination of cash, cameras, and potential legal exposure made the set a pressure cooker. And yet, the audience never got the full story. Confessionals referencing contracts, invoices, or bank statements allegedly vanished in post-production fights tied directly to the missing $250,000 were replaced with safe, marketable drama. Family tension, culture clash, relationship conflict. What didn't air was the real tension, the proof that money, law, and survival were all on the table at once. So the question lingers. What footage was deleted, and why did TLC hide it from viewers? Was it protection, control, or something more calculated? Fans remember Andre yelling, Elizabeth holding back tears, fights escalating over seemingly small things. What they didn't see is that much of it was allegedly reshaped in post. Confessionals were rewritten, fights reframed, moments of genuine fear replaced with clips that fit a tidy emotional arc. The raw footage existed, but the story that aired was carefully curated to maximize tension and ratings. Imagine living your life under a microscope where every word, every glance, every sigh is measured not for truth but for audience reaction. Behavior under pressure becomes performative. When Andre snapped at Charlie or Elizabeth blinked too long in a confessional, it wasn't always ego or anger. Allegedly, it was fear, frustration, exhaustion. Human reactions turned into narrative beats. Editors cut, rearranged, and filtered these reactions to create characters. Andre, the fiery foreigner, Elizabeth, the calm peacemaker. Real vulnerabilities were buried, replaced with a story that tested viewer retention instead of reflecting real life. Even breakdowns. Moments that could have revealed emotional truth were reframed. Tears became cued, quiet stress became a subplot about parenting, and arguments over finances were turned into personal digs. Pressure changes behavior, but editing changes perception. Fans saw the drama, but the stakes, the fear, and the anxiety behind it were mostly invisible. The clever part of this manipulation is subtle. Human behavior under stress becomes predictable, and predictable behavior becomes content. Shouting, conflict, silent anxiety, editing opportunity, fear, clip to highlight resilience or tension. Every action was a potential headline. Every reaction, a scene reality, wasn't ignored. It was repackaged. And here's the haunting question. In a world where every emotion is screened, cut, and reframed, were Andre and Elizabeth ever truly free to show themselves? Or were they locked into a script that demanded they perform fear, anger, and love on cue, all while the cameras documented a version of life they didn't fully control? If the network could rewrite their emotions, shape their conflicts, and control what fans saw, how much of their story was actually theirs? And how much was TLC's creation? On screen, Elizabeth often looked composed, the picture of the peacemaker navigating a chaotic household. Behind the cameras, insiders allege a very different story. Between takes, she reportedly broke down more than once, tears quietly streaming, mascara running, whispering fears she couldn't voice publicly. Moments that could have shown raw human vulnerability were clipped, reframed, or replaced with innocuous B-roll smile for the camera masked exhaustion, anxiety, and the weight of a husband potentially facing deportation. Fans saw her mediating fights, juggling family expectations, and calming Andre. What they didn't see was the silent tension piling up, the quiet panic over legal uncertainties, or the emotional toll of constantly performing calm. Every attempt to speak truthfully was reportedly intercepted by producers, with instructions to stick to family drama, avoid legal discussions, and protect the narrative. Real reactions became expendable collateral in service of story arcs designed to hold ratings. The psychology is clear. Humans under relentless pressure often oscillate between overcompensation and withdrawal. Elizabeth's on-camera patience may have been a mask for fear, frustration, and helplessness. When she tried to articulate stress about visas, finances, or personal safety, editors allegedly cut it. When she blinked too long in a confessional, the shot might have shifted to toys on the floor or sunlight through the window, creating an illusion of normalcy. Reality was sanitized. Yet, even in this pressure cooker, there's nuance. Elizabeth's composure wasn't weakness. Her ability to navigate unpredictable behavior, emotional volatility, and production demands reflects remarkable resilience. Fans might assume calm equals acceptance, but insiders suggest it was strategic survival, staying within the boundaries of what producers allowed, protecting her family, and trying to maintain some control over her own life. The contrast is striking. On TV, she's the calm glue. Off camera, she's navigating crises that could destroy the family, the show, and Andre's future. Every cut, every edit, every safe storyline came at an emotional cost. So the question arises, how far would producers go to protect the storyline, even if it meant silencing genuine fear and emotional breakdowns? Fans know Andre as the fiery, stubborn husband from Moldova, but few saw the layers behind that image. Before cameras rolled, Andre reportedly had a history with the Moldovan police, a detail largely absent from his cast bio and public profile. It wasn't hidden because it was secret, it was public knowledge, but it clashed with the story TLC wanted to tell. The tough but relatable immigrant navigating a chaotic American family. According to insiders, producers allegedly buried this past to maintain narrative consistency. Any mention of Moldova, police work, or controversial connections was off limits on set, off camera, and in confessionals. Even small references were reportedly edited out or redirected towards safe, audience-friendly angles. A background that could have added context to his behavior was erased in favor of a simplified character. Aggressive, stubborn, entertaining, but predictable. Deleted scenes reportedly show fights and confrontations that were tied directly to this history. Andre responding not just to in-laws or reality TV stress, but to memories and experiences shaped long before the cameras arrived. By removing these elements, editors turned multi-layered human reactions into surface-level drama. What looked like random anger or stubbornness on TV might have been rooted in decades of life experiences, legal and bureaucratic pressures, and cultural conditioning. This raises ethical questions. Is it fair to present someone as one-dimensional for entertainment? And when real emotional stakes are buried, who suffers most? The audience, misled by the edits, or the participants whose lives are reframed without consent? Even public reactions were manipulated. Fans saw arguments and melodrama, but missed the subtle triggers tied to Andre's past. What if the fights weren't about egos clashing, but about pressure and history colliding? And if a network can sanitize a past for a storyline, how much of what we believe is genuine? The question lingers. Now that we know some of Andre's history was removed or silenced, does our perception of him on screen change, and should it? By the time season 9 wrapped, insiders claim TLC had fully embraced a strategy known internally as Project Amber Fence. It wasn't about smoothing out rough cuts or trimming extra minutes. It was full-on narrative engineering. Every argument, every confession, every emotional beat was allegedly analyzed, rewritten, and positioned to maximize drama while minimizing legal and ethical risk. Conflict wasn't just captured, it was curated. Fights between Andre and Elizabeth's family that might have revealed visa anxieties, financial stress, or personal fear were reframed as family ego clashes. Confessionals that hinted at fear of deportation or frustration over financial discrepancies were reshot or heavily edited. The real stress, the human anxiety, the quiet breakdowns, they reportedly didn't make the cut. What viewers got was a controlled, highly shareable story designed to hit emotional beats without the messy legal baggage. Contingency endings were allegedly part of the plan. If Andre's visa issues had forced a mid-season exit, producers reportedly had scripts ready. Elizabeth would film a solo goodbye, early scenes would be cut to suggest separation, and the arc would remain clean. Imagine being so constrained that your real-life crisis has a scripted backup, your emotional reality molded to fit a network-approved storyline. How much of your agency remains when every reaction, tear, and confession is filtered through legal and ratings considerations? The Amber Fence project reportedly went beyond edits. It dictated pacing, emotional focus, and even who appeared sympathetic on screen. A minor sibling jab could become a central villain moment. Tears over paperwork became tears over parenting. It's clever, it's ruthless, and it kept audiences glued. But at what cost to the people living the story? The wittiest irony is this. Viewers were reacting, analyzing, debating what they thought were authentic dynamics. But many of those dynamics were manufactured conflict, sympathy, outrage. It was all pre-engineered. And yet, the more you know about the behind-the-scenes control, the more questions pile up. Are the fights we loved really about family tension, or are we applauding scripted pressure points? Did the edits make the story more digestible, or did they erase the messy, beautiful complexity of real life? So here's the question. Did these scripted arcs strip Andre and Elizabeth of their real-life agency, turning private struggles into a polished spectacle for our screens?